It's not actually raining at the moment. It's not actually raining at the moment. My father accidentally locked me out of the house. My father accidentally locked me out of the house. I feel almost ashamed that I've been so lucky. I feel almost ashamed that I've been so lucky. I noticed that you always carry a book when you go out. I noticed that you always carry a book when you go out. The Jazz Festival is held annually in July. The Jazz Festival is held annually in July. We are anxiously awaiting the outcome of their discussion. We are anxiously awaiting the outcome of their discussion. I landed awkwardly and twisted my ankle. I landed awkwardly and twisted my ankle. The front of the car was badly damaged. The front of the car was badly damaged. She was very old and barely able to walk. She was very old and barely able to walk. The present was beautifully wrapped in gold paper. The present was beautifully wrapped in gold paper. She remained bitterly opposed to the idea of moving abroad. She remained bitterly opposed to the idea of moving abroad. They remained blissfully unaware of his true intentions. They remained blissfully unaware of his true intentions. They fought bravely right to the finish. They fought bravely right to the finish. We spoke briefly on the phone. We spoke briefly on the phone. He was busily engaged repairing his bike. He was busily engaged repairing his bike. She read the letter more carefully the second time. She read the letter more carefully the second time. He carelessly left the garage door unlocked. He carelessly left the garage door unlocked. She dipped her toes cautiously into the sea. She dipped her toes cautiously into the sea. The company certainly has the potential for growth. The company certainly has the potential for growth. Old bikes can be bought quite cheaply. Old bikes can be bought quite cheaply. The journey began cheerfully with a sense of adventure. The journey began cheerfully with a sense of adventure. The house is clearly visible from the beach. The house is clearly visible from the beach. I thought you handled the situation very cleverly. I thought you handled the situation very cleverly. The children will be closely supervised at all times. The children will be closely supervised at all times. Elbow injuries are commonly found among tennis players. Elbow injuries are commonly found among tennis players. I continually have to remind him of his responsibilities. I continually have to remind him of his responsibilities. We must make sure that things are done correctly. We must make sure that things are done correctly. She was curiously reluctant to talk about the experience. She was curiously reluctant to talk about the experience. He would dearly love to see his mother again. He would dearly love to see his mother again. They were deeply disturbed by the accident. They were deeply disturbed by the accident. He was deliberately trying to upset her. He was deliberately trying to upset her. The hotel is delightfully situated on the edge of the lake. The hotel is delightfully situated on the edge of the lake. We are trying desperately to keep to our schedule. We are trying desperately to keep to our schedule. They worked diligently all morning. They worked diligently all morning. They eagerly accepted my offer of hospitality. They eagerly accepted my offer of hospitality. The museum is easily accessible by public transport. The museum is easily accessible by public transport. The bedrooms are elegantly furnished. The bedrooms are elegantly furnished. The swimmer dived into the water and swam energetically away. The swimmer dived into the water and swam energetically away. She was looking forward to the meeting enormously. She was looking forward to the meeting enormously. She greeted him enthusiastically with a kiss. She greeted him enthusiastically with a kiss. I don't think you are being entirely truthful. I don't think you are being entirely truthful. The money was divided equally among her 4 children. The money was divided equally among her 4 children. I love cold drinks, especially in summer. I love cold drinks, especially in summer. Sprinkle sugar evenly over the top of the cake. Sprinkle sugar evenly over the top of the cake. I presume that an agreement will eventually be reached. I presume that an agreement will eventually be reached. It's exactly the way I thought it would be. It's exactly the way I thought it would be. He waved the letter excitedly above his head. He waved the letter excitedly above his head. I found his manner extremely unpleasant. I found his manner extremely unpleasant. She's fairly responsive to new ideas. She's fairly responsive to new ideas. He faithfully lived up to his promise. He faithfully lived up to his promise. They spoke with me and we got on famously. They spoke with me and we got on famously. The fire was still burning fiercely. The fire was still burning fiercely. I fondly remember my first job as a reporter. I fondly remember my first job as a reporter. Foolishly, I didn't write the phone number down. Foolishly, I didn't write the phone number down. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Fortunately, no one was hurt. The bird's wings were beating frantically. The bird's wings were beating frantically. The cows are allowed to wander freely. The cows are allowed to wander freely. I'm not sure that I fully understand. I'm not sure that I fully understand. She has contributed generously to the local charity. She has contributed generously to the local charity. The boats were floating gently down the river. The boats were floating gently down the river. He gladly accepted their invitation. He gladly accepted their invitation. We were greatly encouraged by the support we received. We were greatly encouraged by the support we received. The children were playing happily with their toys. The children were playing happily with their toys. He hastily stuffed a few cloves into a bag. He hastily stuffed a few cloves into a bag. I want to get fit and live more healthily. I want to get fit and live more healthily. The company invested heavily in new technology. The company invested heavily in new technology. They had helpfully provided us with instructions on how to find the house. They had helpfully provided us with instructions on how to find the house. The staff are all highly experienced. The staff are all highly experienced. Did you honestly expect me to believe that? Did you honestly expect me to believe that? They met at university and fell hopelessly in love. They met at university and fell hopelessly in love. This medicine is to be taken hourly. This medicine is to be taken hourly. She smiled at him innocently. She smiled at him innocently. The mouse looked around the room inquisitively. The mouse looked around the room inquisitively. The information was instantly available. The information was instantly available. The noise was beginning to irritate me intensely. The noise was beginning to irritate me intensely. The dog jealously guarded its bone. The dog jealously guarded its bone. She very kindly invited me to lunch. She very kindly invited me to lunch. Toast the bread lightly on both sides. Toast the bread lightly on both sides. She fastened the belt loosely around her waist. She fastened the belt loosely around her waist. He banged his fist loudly on the table. He banged his fist loudly on the table. We were madly in love for about 2 years. We were madly in love for about 2 years. We communicated mostly by email. We communicated mostly by email. A couple of messages had mysteriously disappeared. A couple of messages had mysteriously disappeared. Naturally, you'll want to discuss this with your wife. Naturally, you'll want to discuss this with your wife. It's been nearly 3 months since my last haircut. It's been nearly 3 months since my last haircut. I walked nervously up the garden path towards the front door. I walked nervously up the garden path towards the front door. He was handsome and nicely dressed. He was handsome and nicely dressed. The children were playing noisily upstairs. The children were playing noisily upstairs. The dog trotted obediently to his master. The dog trotted obediently to his master. She's been behaving oddly this week. She's been behaving oddly this week. They officially announced the news to the reporters. They officially announced the news to the reporters. He stated his own views quite openly. He stated his own views quite openly. He was painfully aware of his lack of experience. He was painfully aware of his lack of experience. The driver sat patiently behind the wheel. The driver sat patiently behind the wheel. It seems a perfectly reasonable request to make. It seems a perfectly reasonable request to make. They try to deal politely with angry customers. They try to deal politely with angry customers. Many household products are potentially harmful. Many household products are potentially harmful. I expect to be paid promptly for the work. I expect to be paid promptly for the work. The television isn't working properly. The television isn't working properly. Her skin tans very quickly in the summer. Her skin tans very quickly in the summer. Sit quietly and behave yourself. Sit quietly and behave yourself. The books were randomly arranged on the shelves. The books were randomly arranged on the shelves. She was a placid child who rarely cried. She was a placid child who rarely cried. All ingredients are readily available from your local store. All ingredients are readily available from your local store. The gardener mows the grass regularly. The gardener mows the grass regularly. We reluctantly agreed to go with her. We reluctantly agreed to go with her. Both men have repeatedly denied the allegations. Both men have repeatedly denied the allegations. I'm only claiming what is rightfully mine. I'm only claiming what is rightfully mine. They all left at roughly the same time. They all left at roughly the same time. He rudely rejected her kind offer of help. He rudely rejected her kind offer of help. I must sadly decline your generous invitation. I must sadly decline your generous invitation. I was pleased to hear you arrived home safely. I was pleased to hear you arrived home safely. The police had secretly filmed the conversations. The police had secretly filmed the conversations. They were seemingly unaware of the decision. They were seemingly unaware of the decision. Can I pay for each item separately? Can I pay for each item separately? They are seriously concerned about security. They are seriously concerned about security. Prices have risen sharply over the last few months. Prices have risen sharply over the last few months. The cat crept silently towards the bird. The cat crept silently towards the bird. He slowly backed his car into the garage. He slowly backed his car into the garage. It'll take about 3 hours if everything goes smoothly. It'll take about 3 hours if everything goes smoothly. She closed the door softly behind her. She closed the door softly behind her. All information will be treated as strictly confidential. All information will be treated as strictly confidential. We feel strongly that our products are the best. We feel strongly that our products are the best. The project has now been successfully completed. The project has now been successfully completed. Her eyes suddenly filled with tears. Her eyes suddenly filled with tears. The book is supposedly based on a true story. The book is supposedly based on a true story. The weather was surprisingly warm and sunny. The weather was surprisingly warm and sunny. Watch out for anyone acting suspiciously. Watch out for anyone acting suspiciously. I'm terribly sorry to have kept you waiting. I'm terribly sorry to have kept you waiting. Thankfully, the house was empty when I got home. Thankfully, the house was empty when I got home. Mix all the ingredients thoroughly in a large bowl. Mix all the ingredients thoroughly in a large bowl. He gazed thoughtfully into the distance. He gazed thoughtfully into the distance. The experience has been tremendously educational. The experience has been tremendously educational. It was a truly memorable experience. It was a truly memorable experience. I answered all their questions truthfully. I answered all their questions truthfully. Ultimately, you'll have to make the decision yourself. Ultimately, you'll have to make the decision yourself. The train was unexpectedly delayed. The train was unexpectedly delayed. I like cats, but unfortunately, I'm allergic to them. I like cats, but unfortunately, I'm allergic to them. Her voice sounded unnaturally loud. Her voice sounded unnaturally loud. I don't want to worry you unnecessarily. I don't want to worry you unnecessarily. New equipment is urgently needed. New equipment is urgently needed. I usually work out after work. I usually work out after work. He found the experience utterly humiliating. He found the experience utterly humiliating. I can vaguely remember my first day at school. I can vaguely remember my first day at school. The quality of the training has vastly improved. The quality of the training has vastly improved. In my opinion, the decision was wholly justified. In my opinion, the decision was wholly justified. They've invested their money wisely. They've invested their money wisely. His performance was woefully inadequate. His performance was woefully inadequate. All the hospital staff were wonderfully supportive. All the hospital staff were wonderfully supportive. She was wrongly accused of stealing. She was wrongly accused of stealing.